Hello, everyone. It's time for Off the Hook with Matty D. I'm your host, Matt DiNardo. And today we're going to be talking about a really fun group here in Central Virginia, in the Richmond area, called Fly Fishers of Virginia. You're saying, what is that? I've never heard of them. Well, that's why we're bringing some awareness to this program. And joining me now is Tony Scrimizzi, who's the president of Fly Fishers of Virginia. First of all, Tony, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you, Matt.
This is a really fun group. Before we get into what the group is, why don't you give us a little history on when the group formed and how you became part of the group?
Sure. The group formed in 1982. Four gentlemen formed it, and they got together in August of 1982, and that was Nat Burgwin, Ken Henderson, and then we had Randy Tucker and George Crosby. And we've been going for 42 years this August.
That's a lot of longevity for the group, for sure.
It is. I am the 21st president, serving out my 2-year term right now. And I'm fairly new to Virginia.
Okay.
We moved 8 years ago from Pennsylvania, my wife and I. And I was looking to get back into fly fishing. I'd retired, and so I kind of had my list of things I wanted to get engaged with. And I happened to meet a member of Fly Fishers of Virginia while shopping at the Orvis store. And that's Robert Thomas, who heads up our communication group. And we chatted, and he said, hey, why don't you come to one of our dinners? So as I was a guest, and I started going. And through that experience, I met other members, and which also connected me to some volunteer groups, which we'll talk about.
Right.
So through that introduction, not knowing anyone, I was asked to join. So I put an application in and became a member in waiting, which I think you might be familiar with that. And ultimately became a member, was engaged in a number of different volunteer activities, which is really kind of core to what we look for in members. We're looking for members who want to engage.
Right.
Not just say, oh, I'm a member, but we want to see people that attend our dinners, volunteer for activities that we have, but of course, most importantly, engage in fly fishing.
And so 42 years, the group has been in existence, and you're the 21st president, and it's a 2-year term, so we get that. So somebody needs to be invited, and then you mentioned member in waiting. There's kind of a trial period to see if you like the group, to see if you fit the group, that kind of a thing.
Yes, and it came about because what we had and what happened in my case is I was a member in waiting for well over 2 years. So we had people on the list that wanted to join. We said, we need to get some people coming in. So we said, all right, why don't we establish some criteria?
Right.
So once you submit your application and it's accepted, 1 year from that date, we ask you to participate in at least 3 different activities. Could be attending a dinner, going on a fishing trip. We'd love for people to organize fishing trips.
Right.
That's another opportunity that we all have because we are a fishing group.
Right.
Our mission states to, promote the sport of fly fishing, good sportsmanship, and to be a steward of our environment and our natural resources. So we look for opportunities to engage the sport in those areas.
How many members are in it right now?
Okay, right now, we fluctuate between 150 and 160. So right now, we're just under 160.
Okay.
And we try to keep it at that level because we want to try to encourage, friendship. We don't want to just have people come into a large room with a bunch of folks that they don't know. So we want to try to make sure that people are engaged. But through attrition, through people, joining, moving on, et cetera, we've been able to keep our membership at that way. Now, we also have some other designations for membership, long-term stewards of the club that we designate for lifetime membership, legacy members for folks that have been in good standing for 25 years or more, anyone that has been a sponsor of our organization in different ways. So we're right at about just about 200 in terms of people that are actively at least in touch with Fly Fishers of Virginia.
All right, so you mentioned promoting the sportsmanship, the angling experience, but you also really are big in conservation on our local waterways, because really, without them, there is no fly fishers of Virginia or fly fishing anywhere.
That's so true, and it's such a huge topic.
Right.
Okay, we are in the Richmond area. We hear about it all the time. We have this wonderful natural resource that flows right through our area, the James River. So there are a number of organizations that work in support of the James River that we also support. We do raise funds. We're a nonprofit. Our big fundraiser is coming up at the end of this month. And so we donate not only funds that we raise, but more importantly, we also donate volunteer hours to organizations. One of our members this year, not too long ago, Tim Jackson, organized a float on the James, canoes and kayaks. You could fish. You didn't have to fish. You could float. But part of it was also to engage in a cleanup effort.
Right.
So those are the type of things that we encourage and really appreciate.
And when a group goes out from Fly Fishers of Virginia, they love to fish together, but you might be, as you said, working with one of those groups, James River group, where you're cleaning up and you're really helping that, or maybe one I think you're very close to is Boys to Men as well. You guys support a lot of different groups. I have a list here, and it's, I think, about 15 different groups. All of these touch the heart of the individual members of Fly Fishermen and Fly Fisher Virginia, and you really support them in many different ways.
Absolutely. And again, at my stage in life, this was a goal of mine, okay, is to give back, okay, to find organizations that I could volunteer with. But what better way to do that is to connect the sport that I love and into these. So if you say Boys to Men, this is a group. It's part of a larger organization, but there's a group here in Richmond, and they work with teenagers, challenges in some ways, and they engage them in different types of activities. One of our members was a volunteer, and he connected Fly Fishers of Virginia. So we take a group of teenagers, and we expose them to the sport that we love. And we get to chat and talk and engage with them. And those are the type of things that I really like to encourage, because I think it really helps spread the mission of what we're trying to do in a way that maybe not necessarily just exclusively catch a fish.
Right. Right.
Although that's a real important part of it.
It is fun, for sure. And this is not a men's exclusive club. There's a number of women members. And in fact, we have a picture here on the screen. We'll go to some of the pictures here. This was one of the midsummer, if you want to learn how to fly fish with our women members, they hosted an outing of their own.
Absolutely. We do have several women members. We have a women's group. And they organize outings for themselves, or in conjunction with other organizations. So I know the DWR, Alex McCrickard, I think you know him. He's works in the education area. Yes. Our women's group worked with him recently, and teaching fly casting at a local pond. I think it was Dorney Park, I believe, in the Richmond area. So we, introduced fly fishing that way to a whole bunch of women. So that's just part of what we are.
It really makes it fun because, like, I know my wife, she's not a fly fisherman, and she might be intimidated going out with me. But if she learned from another woman and then felt comfortable to fly fish with me, it takes that edge off. I mean, because like yourself, like me, I've been doing this 40 years and love every moment of the sport. Sometimes teaching your wife is not always the greatest thing, though.
I can definitely reinforce that position. That is because sometimes...
I'm not trying to get you in trouble here.
No, I'm going to be very delicate in how I approach this, because I'm also in the process of introducing my wife to the game of golf. So it has some interesting nuances to it. But yes, sometimes it's just great to be with a group of ladies, okay? The ladies enjoy their company. We enjoy with men, but we do have outings where we
We're
mixed.
mixed, yeah.
Okay, so there's different combinations on that, but I'm really happy. We have a number of ladies that have taken a great initiative and established some, not only trips for themselves, but engaging in activities where we can, again, accomplish our mission, and that's further the sport.
And also getting into some of the other organizations that you support, veterans, whether it's Real Recovery or Project Healing Waters, others. Speak a little bit about that.
Sure. I know you're familiar with one of those organizations because we're both volunteers. Well, again, as I previously stated, one of the things that I wanted to do was look for opportunities. I did not know about Project Healing Waters, but through the club, I met some great people. I was invited to come to a fly tying session. We were meeting at the VA hospital at the time. So I started volunteering then, and they said, "Come on, boys." Well, I don't know how to tie flies. Don't worry, we'll show you how to fly. So okay. So I started doing that, and through my engagement with them, I kind of took a more active role, became an assistant program lead, and then for about 18 months, I was the program lead for the Richmond program for Project Healing Waters. Super organization, working with veterans that are challenged with some disabilities, also active military.
Right.
We have a session this afternoon.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Where we're going to be tying flies and
building rods. We had Tony on 2 weeks ago. Fantastic.
Something else,
Right.
I heard about it, but I learned how rods are built.
Yeah.
And we teach that. And again, no cost. This is no cost to the participants. So the organization provides all the materials, equipment, et cetera. We take people on fishing outings. And it's just been a wonderful experience. And again, through the sport, it's an extension, but it really works in a therapeutic way, getting people out, okay, out in the environment, all the beauties that we enjoy, the sunshine, the water, and just kind of, chilling out, if you will, and kind of maybe leaving some issues behind for a few hours and participating and engaging in something that's a lot of fun.
I always say that when you get out on the water, you just leave your troubles behind. I mean, maybe you're focused on fly fishing, or you're just having a conversation with a buddy next to you that you haven't seen in a while. The day-to-day struggles are just gone.
We laugh a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not. I have a set of skills that I'm constantly trying to improve. So if you work with folks that are maybe a little bit more skilled, or a guide that we're with, and they take the time to say, all right, listen, this is a technique that you need. But again, it engages your mind. And sometimes you can just sit back and just look at the wonders of nature, the water, the sky, the trees. Maybe you see a deer, grazing, or you identify an otter, different things like that. So it's wonderful to just kind of, again, let the mind focus on different areas than the day-to-day.
We mentioned Boys to Men. We have some pictures here. This was done at Duck Down earlier in the year, kind of springtime. You see some buds on the trees there. But this is really wonderful because there are a number of members from FFV, Fly Fishers of Virginia, that go one-on-one with these young men to teach them the sport. And look, it doesn't make a difference what size they're catching at all. It is about the fact that there's a big smile on every one of those faces, and you've done good that way.
Absolutely. And I have, I think we're maybe up to our fourth session with them each spring. We gather. And we go out to Duck Down Inn, a wonderful place to learn, if you will, about fly fishing. And we just have a ball. I mean, we provide the equipment, the flies. We do coaching.
Right.
It's amazing how a little bit of coaching, and all of a sudden the kids are on their own, and they're out there and they're catching fish and having a ball. And they do a couple of different sessions as well amongst themselves. But we get to participate, and again, who knows where it will lead. Right. It may not lead to a lifetime fly fisherman, but it may lead to a lifetime fisherman.
That's right.
Okay, so it could lead in different areas, or maybe several years down the road. Oh yeah, I tried that once. I think I'd like to try it again.
Right, go back to it for sure. Other organizations that you work with, Mossy Creek Restoration Fund. You also have a great relationship with Mossy Creek Outfitters, Potomac River Keepers, James River Association we mentioned, VCU Rice Center, talk about sturgeon, talk about all the different things. You bring in different guests as well to the meetings. So there's an educational aspect when someone attends the meetings as well.
Absolutely. I know you've participated in a number of these, but we try to do a variety in terms of what we do for education and our speakers. So we try to go local, which is pretty much in the state of Virginia,
Yep.
and then we do destination. So we had a great speaker earlier in the year, Bart Lombardo, came down from New Jersey.
Panfish on the Fly was probably one of the best I've heard.
Panfish on the Fly. Now that's something that we have a great resource here in the Richmond area. It's also a wonderful way to learn how to fly fish. You know, if you find a pond, okay, you know, so your casting challenges are not as great as if you were, say, in a tree-shrouded stream somewhere. But to get a panfish on the fly, or particularly on a surface fly or a pop, and you know, when you say you see the excitement on the kids, well, you see the excitement on the grown-ups too, catching that. So it's a lot of fun, and Bart did a wonderful job of really exploring that topic. He also demonstrated how to tie some of his specialty flies, which was really interesting to see how he sizes the fly for the different size of panfish. So got you a little deeper into it than, you know, maybe just some, go out and catch a bluegill or sunfish.
And I think that's one of the things that's really nice. If you get a chance, and you're a fly fisher, fly fisherman, fly fisherwoman, and you get a chance to come to one of the meetings, try to get there early, because a lot of the presenters will have kind of like a pre-discussion where they tie flies, where they give you a little more insight versus the 40-minute, like, kind of, here's my bullet point conversation. And it's also a lot more relaxed, too, in that respect. Right.
And so we do split the sessions up. And we focus more on education in the first part, a little bit of a deeper dive.
Right.
So that people that are really interested, or that, you know, if you want to observe how a specific fly is tied, you can see that. A number of them will tie that. But a number of them will get into the nuance of their specialty in terms of what they really focus on, which is of interest to most of us. And then more of a general overview it's an after dinner speaker. So, you know, our meetings consist of a dinner that we have. We do have a business session where we update the club on the activities, and then the speaker will come in.
During the year, not only do you have the different groups that you support, but there's also a fun member outing. There's a yearly swap meet, picnic, fly tying, etc. But it's really just a way to kind of get back together as a group, an informal gathering, and everybody's just like, hey, how's your summer been? How you been fishing? And it really is very fun.
Again, that's part of the engagement process. Right. So we're looking to have an engaged membership and not as formal. It's in a relaxed atmosphere. We have a wonderful venue that we've been able to access to have an outing. It's a great way to also procure some equipment because sometimes people say, oh, it's an expensive sport. Well, it can be.
Yes.
Every sport can, you know, depending on how deep you want to go in. But you may be like me. I have a number of pieces of equipment that I have.
Don't tell my wife.
Acquired, and you know they're lightly used. Okay, and one, you know, I got my new 4-weight rod at last year's picnic. So it's a great way to kind of, because people are always looking, you know, you can never have enough fly rods, right? Well, sooner or later you say, or someone in your family says, maybe it's time to lighten the storage load a little bit, so you can exchange equipment that way too. So it's a great way to kind of get some, or maybe you have a child or a grandchild that you want to get started on it, and it's a great way to find a piece of equipment that way.
I built a whole different area in my garage to keep my fly rods.
It's amazing how it keeps expanding.
It does. It's fantastic. Oh, no, it's not. So outings, of course, whether it's an outing local, maybe going up to Mossy or some streams in Virginia and catching some beautiful browns, here just some of them, or golden trout. I mean, these are just gorgeous. Or there's, as you said, bigger trips. This one, some of our members did, went to Greenland. This was one heck of a trip. I cannot wait to talk to our members on this one. They said they hiked 40 to 50 miles over 6.5 days. That's a little rough for me going into sleeping in tents and all. Some people love it. Don't get me wrong. But
I'm with you, Matt.
I mean, roughing it to me sometimes is the Sheraton.
There you go.
But still, very, very fun. Let me bring up some more pictures here. And look, they had a great time catching beautiful Atlantics. And I mean, the scenery itself, as you said, sometimes you just get lost in the moment because we're so into the conservation, the environment. That's really one of the core goals of FFV. And so when we get to experience a different environment, like you said, you just went to Canada, way up north, just a completely different experience altogether.
Again, diversity of experiences. We look to engage, and this is where we really rely on our members. I mean, we're a volunteer group. I mean, so this is members that have a particular interest. They want to go to different areas. So we really encourage organization of trips like this. So yes, I started doing destination trips a year ago. I was really intimidated in terms of leaving the country and going to some of these destinations. But again, tagging along with experienced people really reduces the anxiety about okay, how we get there, what are we going to do. And I've had two wonderful experiences on the destination side. I did just return from Canada.
Yep.
Again, Robert Thomas organized a group to head up to northwest Manitoba. We fished at Ganglers, North Seal River Lodge.
Right.
Outstanding location. Northern pike, a very aggressive species of fish, and we really caught a lot of northern pike and some other species as well. But again, it's just experimenting and that exploring the world, if you will, again, through the sport that we enjoy.
Some of our friends, our members, went to Montana this past summer, a place that I've always wanted to go, so I need to talk to Rick and some of the guys there because the scenes like this for cutthroat and rainbows, I mean, the whole views to me just are incredible for sure.
So again, going to the diversity of experience in the organization, if you have a specific interest, maybe it's salt water. We have members who are into fishing in salt water. I did my first flats fishing in South Carolina with a member that led a group down there. And it was a first-time experience, so I enjoyed that. So whatever your interests are, we can say, okay, here he is, come over here, let me introduce you to so-and-so, and then they can talk to you about it. So we have a great connection with outfitters.
Yep.
We are considered to be, I believe, the largest fly fishing club in the state of Virginia. So we have a good reputation. People are willing to come in and visit with us because they know that they'll get a good audience,
right,
which will lead to prospects
for sure
for their organization. But yet also say, wow, I wanted to go to Alaska. Who was the outfitter that you used? All right, so you can get a good recommendation, an inside recommendation from someone that has actual experience working with them.
Right. And last January, not January 24, but 23, we had a guide, FFE, Tailing Tide. I can't remember the gentleman's name off the top of my head. And we booked him, and an amazing experience. He remembered we were from FFV. We went and did false albacore on the fly. And usually, as you know, a trip is maybe 7 a.m. to about 3 p.m. But because we were with FFV and he had such a good time there, he kept us out until 6 o'clock at night. Now, he got a heck of a nice tip. Don't get me wrong. We knew to compensate backward, but it was just an amazing experience. And again, you brought in a great guide, and he proved it on the water beside at the meeting. So really fun.
Absolutely. And we have a number of experienced people, again, that we're very fortunate to be able to tap into this experience. They've fished with a lot of people. Right. So they vet, okay, who we bring in. So we can understand that they provide a quality service and that we would recommend using them. So again, to your experience here, and that's how we can kind of explore and that was not too far away where you went. So
No.
you know
was
we were
Emerald
with,
Isle, Atlantic Beach.
you know
yeah.
it requires an overnight
Yep.
in some cases, but still a couple of days and then maybe a 3 or 4 hour drive back home. That's one of the benefits of being in this wonderful area where we live, where you have access to the coast, you have access to the mountains, and then you have the warm water species which are right here in our backyard.
And one of our backyard members, so to speak, is Simone and Reed from Current Culture. And some of our anglers go out with Robert Thomas on the bottom. He never goes out with anybody because I don't know. I think if you put a glass of water in front of him, he casts a fly and he's going to catch a fish somehow, even if there's no fish in that glass of water. It's incredible. But they go out in backyards, and you can hook up with anybody because camaraderie, friendship, the social aspect. It's just fantastic.
It really is, and I feel blessed. Again, I traveled around the country. I've lived in, this is our 7th home. So we targeted Richmond. We started in Virginia right after we were married in 1976 in the Shenandoah Valley. So we liked Virginia. We had some connectivity here. One of my daughters lives not too far away in Charlottesville. So it was an opportunity for us to get back here. But really, this was like a first start for us in many ways. And the club, Fly Fishers of Virginia, has really helped me engage in the greater Richmond community just through the connections that I've made. So it's really a great organization. And that's why I agreed to serve. I agreed to serve on the board, and then I was asked to become the president. It's my way of paying it forward in terms of the people that helped me, that brought me in and said, hey, come on, join us, be a part of the group.
And I've got to say, Tony, my 2 years here, because you've been the president for my 2 years, I've enjoyed every moment of it. So thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. How many meetings do you host, does FFE host per year?
6.
Okay.
We have 5 of the dinner meetings that we talked about, and then we've again, I think this was our 2nd year where we did the picnic swap meet. Mm-hmm. So we have 6 of those meetings, and again, they're structured meetings. As we said, education session, followed by social hour, dinner meeting, kickoff dinner, then we do our business, which I try to keep brief and focused because...
You do a good job of that.
Okay, so folks don't want to hear me talk, they want to see our guest speaker. And then we do our fundraising. We do our raffles and things of that nature where we do that and we wrap up. So we try to get everybody out of there by 9:30 in the evening.
Yep.
It's a great time. We have a great venue where we meet at. So again, it's a great opportunity for anyone that wants to explore it. They can reach us. They can look at our website, which is right now it's Fly Fishers of Virginia. And we are currently transitioning from a .org to a .com.
Okay.
But I would suggest you go to the .org. You can go to the contact us, and then we'll get someone back in touch with you, and we'll have a chat in terms of determining what your interests are. And if we match up, then we invite you to join us for a dinner meeting like I did.
Well, Tony, I thank you for being my guest on Off the Hook. I enjoy the club. I've got to do a little bit more with you all, but sometimes the job gets in the way.
It helps to be retired.
Yes, I'm finding.
But we like you just as you are.
Tony, seriously, once again, thank you so much for joining us today and talking about Fly Fishers of Virginia for the audience of Off the Hook.
Well, thank you for this opportunity, Matt. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. Once again, we're going to be back next week with another episode of Off the Hook with Matty D. For now, I'm Matt DiNardo. Have a great day. Another episode of Off the Hook with Matty D.